One, two, check. Welcome to True North Sports Talk Podcast. I'm Peter Barclay, your host, and welcome to your passionate Canadian sports talk show. And we are coming to you, let's see here, Wednesday, June the 10th. And we have obviously recorded this ahead of time. And to my left, we have the Blue Jays and a 0-0 deadlock. They had a 6-4 victory yesterday. We'll get to a bit more on that sort of later on in the show. That's a secondary theme for the show. And so, yeah, we may throw in an update here and there. But today's show is very important because just a day or two from now, or if I'm not wrong, it actually might have kicked off yesterday, but we are talking about a preview for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted, as you may know, by Canada, Mexico, and the United States. This expanded 48 team tournament runs from July 11th, okay, so tomorrow, to July 19th. There are 16 different venues. And so we're looking to give you a preview that will hopefully touch on some of the favorites. We're going to touch on the North American teams at the very minimum, seeing as how they are hosting. And yeah, we're going to talk about some of the other majors. We got Brazil, Argentina, Germany, France. If we missed your team, my apologies. We don't have time to touch on every single team in the tournament. That's 48 teams. So that would take a while. And we only have half hour to an hour to get into all of this. And then at the end will be the rant. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. There's a secondary issue that we have to discuss. And we've covered this topic at times lately, but we'll get to it. So stick around to the end. You're not going to want to miss that. You're going to want to see this preview that we have for you. And so let's set the stage. What are the host cities and venues? Well, for the first time, we have 3 different countries hosting this event. Canada has 2 of the venues. Mexico has 3 venues, which at one point was in doubt based on some political unrest in the country, as it were. So there were questions as to whether that might be even possible in that country. So we might have had 3 more venues come our way. But it looks like they've been able to figure things out and it will go ahead as planned. But, oh, there's a home run there against the Blue Jays. Hopefully that's a solo shot. It looks like it. Yep. So 1-0 against the Blue Jays. That's not a good thing. But there's quite a bit of game left. It's only top of the 5th. So we'll see how it goes. And then, getting back to what we were on there, the US has 11 separate sites. So it's the largest World Cup. There are 104 matches. And as fans, what y'all are looking for is the venues, In Canada here, we're looking at BMO Field, MetLife for the finals. And so the Canadian venues that are going to be key, as we mentioned, BMO Field in Toronto. That is near Exhibition Place. That is a stunning venue, having been by it and seen it many times. Uh, Canada opens there on June the 12th. If I'm not wrong, that would make that a Friday. So let's just trusty calendar here. And that is Friday evening. And they are taking on Bosnia and Herzegovina. Forgive me if I butchered that. 45,000 seat capacity for this particular event. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Obviously, the home side will be the favorite. Canadian fans always turn up for our teams. Then we have BC Place in Vancouver. That's going to host multiple group games and potential knockout stage games. Its iconic setting on Falls Creek. Then you have Mexico with Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Their opening match June 11th. Their country, so Mexico versus South Africa. Historic third opener for the venue. Guadalajara and Monterrey being the other spots. The United States, obviously MetLife in New York, New Jersey. And that is going to host the final on July 19th. You have SoFi in LA, AT&T in Dallas, Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, and there's more. As we said, 11 cities. Travel is definitely going to be a factor during this World Cup like never before, because usually it's one country, you're going back and forth in a smaller, more condensed area. Ooh, that was almost home run number 2 of the inning, but it'll be a triple. All right. So, North American fans will have, obviously, sorry about that, guys. That was almost way louder and way not good. So, North American fans will have obviously incredible access. There's going to be fan fests in all the cities, and this is a true continental celebration. The expanded format means there are more teams that will move on each time. The top 2 per group plus the 8 best thirds to the round of 32. We're hoping for and planning on the fact that there will be a bit more chaos, a bit more upsets happening, and teams that will be able to hold interest longer because it's not as quick of a knockout for some of these teams. So the question becomes, jump in the comments if you are interested, is what venue are you most excited to see a World Cup game in? Let us know. Also let us know, do you have tickets and to what game? All right, so we're going to take a bit of a moment to preview the North American teams. As co-hosts, Canada, Mexico, and the US, they automatically qualified for this tournament. And so as fans, we're looking for what are the chances for Canada in the World Cup? USMNT Pochettino and Mexico El Tri expectations. Obviously, we're excited to see World Cup action on our home soil. Doesn't matter which of the 3 countries you're from. And so we all feel like there's a chance. So Canada is in Group B, which is Canada, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. Switzerland, which is going to be the biggest test in Group B, I would say, for all the teams. And then you have Qatar. Obviously, the opener we mentioned against Bosnia is June 12th. Jesse Marsch, the coach for Team Canada, has momentum from a strong Copa America run. Alphonso Davies, not sure whether he's going to be able to play unless they get deep in the tournament. Jonathan David, Tayon Buchanan, Stefan Estaquio, and Moisey Bombito. So there's depth, and their midfield is probably the engine that's going to make this team run. They have 2 to 3 guys that can run their midfield from center midfield, so they are very deep in that area. Their goalie's on a heater right now, and so there's a lot to just be, I wouldn't say excited about, but to be optimistic about. So hopefully we will see Canada advance from the group alongside perhaps Switzerland. Maybe there will be a surprise in there, but it should be very achievable. The round of 16 would be a massive success, being as we didn't even come close to getting out of the first round last time. And so fans, obviously on home soil, are dreaming of a Cinderella run for the Canadians. Obviously, Davies, that's a hot topic that's going to be unbelievably searched up here north of the border, just simply because we are all hoping that somehow he is healthy enough to go in the earlier rounds. But I think we'd rather he gets healthy and not get injured even worse. So the United States is in Group D. They have Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. Mauricio Pochettino has built a talented young squad with Premier League European experience. For the Americans, they have high expectations on home soil. You would hope so. Quarterfinals or better is the minimum for many in the States. Strong home support is obviously going to be there with the largest amount of games being played on American soil. And then you have Group A playing in Mexico. So you have Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia versus South Africa. Austria opens the tournament. They'll lean on home advantage in Mexico, but face pressure from Quinto Partido. And so they're solid, but they're a bit of an inconsistent squad. And so they are really looking to find that consistency heading into this tournament. All 3 of the hosts have a realistic pass to the round of 16, and there will be heavy dominance of the North American story, especially early on in the coverage. Wow, the Blue Jays really came unraveled this inning. Makes you wonder why Gausman is still on the mound. I believe it's now 5-0. 4, sorry. Jeez. This will be in the rant later, perhaps, because we're going to talk about why he's still in there. So, back to soccer. Let's take a look at some of the powerhouses from around the world. So, some heavyweights that obviously people are going to be looking at, and that is Brazil. They are always one of the favorites whenever the World Cup comes around. It'll be interesting to see how available Neymar is. That is the marquee name for Brazil. They always have a strong squad, regardless of him being there. We're looking at Messi being with Argentina still. Is he going to be able to defend the World Cup as they won 4 years ago? Mbappe and France? Is it their time now? They have a really strong team coming into this tournament. Now, admittedly, because Canada has only been in the last two World Cups in my lifetime, I've been a Brazil fan my whole life. But again, I try and be on this show as objective as possible. As a Brazil fan, France really gives me pause in this tournament, as does Argentina to a degree. Germany, well, they're kind of in the middle of a rebuild, so the fact that they're actually here is interesting. We'll see how this goes. I know some people personally who are fans of this team, and it'll be interesting for me at least to see where the program is at in said rebuild. Finally, Adam Mako's warming up in the bullpen to my left here. All right, so let's look at Brazil first. That's just the order it came up in. Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Always contenders, Brazil is. Star power, they have some young talent on the team this year. Obviously mixed with veterans like, scary to say, but Neymar is the veteran of the group now. Has been for the last World Cup and maybe even the one before that now. Ancelotti's influence brings a strong structure to this team. They're dangerous, but have had some inconsistencies based on, to a degree, how available Neymar is. Expect them to be at the top of that group. Maybe Scotland will be out of that group with them. And we're looking for another deep run from them. Semifinals are better, hopefully. And so people are looking at their flair, their goal threats. Those type of things are huge. In some cases, the best defense is a good offense. And we'll see how that works out from this Brazil squad. Argentina's in Group J with Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. They're the defending champs. Lionel Messi, we thought last time would be his final tournament. This one, we're kind of thinking the same thing again. Despite how he is in soccer years on the older side of things, like grandpa stage to be as nice as possible in the world of sports, but he is still really, 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 really good. Like, up there with Mbappe and Neymar good. And we'll mention Ronaldo in that breath too, because he is still at that level as well. The Argentina side has depth, experience, and that makes them very dangerous. They finally got over the hump and won the big one last time 4 years ago, and they are looking to taste more of the same this time around. Many watching from the world of soccer see them reaching the quarters, the semis, and depending on how things go, they could go a whole lot farther. Now we have Group E, which contains Germany. You have Germany, Morocco, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. That Ivory Coast team, the last, I think, 3 World Cups, really, has really come up a long way, that program. And so that's really cool to see that they're still sticking around and making this tournament regularly these days. Germany, rather, is rebuilding. They have new momentum. They got a lot of talent on that squad. They have some Bundesliga stars and a strong group strong group stage favorites and perhaps a dark horse for the World Cup? We shall see. Discipline, organization, firepower, these have always been hallmarks of a strong German team. So watch out for them and see if they can make a deep run. Now, France is in Group I. They got Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. They should have no problem with this group. In fact, they should win it handily. They have perennial superstar Kylian Mbappe. He's leading the attack as always. And one of the top betting choices to win the whole thing, alongside perhaps Spain and England, which are a couple more teams that we don't even have time to cover today. And I mean, that Spanish squad is always a difficult out. So, yeah, this World Cup, it's shaping up to be something that's going to be exciting. It's going to be worth watching every single game. There's an incredible talent pool, so expect them to be in the latter stages. Speaking of France, Mbappe's chasing records. That part is a massive storyline. And all of these teams that we've mentioned so far drive global interest, no matter what country you're from. So the knockout bracket, it'll be brutal once the top sides start facing each other. But until then, this is going to be one fun tournament. So sit back. I hope you enjoy it. Jump into the comments. Please, guys, let us know. Who is your team? Who do you think is going to win? Be objective if you can. Give us reasons. Let us know who you're watching, who you're thinking. And maybe throw in a dark horse that once your team goes out, maybe who are you watching if they're still in, that kind of a thing. So jump into the comments. Let us know. We'll hit you back. We won't get real argumentative, but we'll just, have a discussion. It'll be fun, right? So jump in. Let us know who you guys think. All right. So we've covered the World Cup, and it would be pretty easy just to say, okay, show's over, we're done, we're out of here, and just call it a wrap. But I mentioned this on a bunch of my shorts recently, and I just want a bit longer of a time to really go into this. The Toronto Blue Jays. Since early in last season, and even before that really, I have been saying for a very long time, and as much as I loved the fact that this team made the World Series last year, there was a part of me that was pissed off they made it that far. And the reason I was angry they made it that far, and I remember when they won the ALCS to get to the World Series, and they were standing on that stage, and Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins had those smug looks on their face. I was angry because Edward Rogers was on that stage, and I'm like, those guys just got a longer leash. I am not happy with this front office, and I haven't been for the better part of a decade. Somehow the pieces all worked out last year, but there were glaring front office miscues all throughout last season into this year. And that extends down to John Schneider too. lest we forget the Jose Barrios and Yusei Kikuchi debacle of that wild card series, where Ross Atkins, although he denies it, was all over that decision to pull Jose Barrios when nobody had any business bringing him out of that game. They were so dead set on Yusei Kikuchi pitching after a certain point. As they say, the rest is history, and everyone who questioned that was absolutely correct, both in the game and after the game. There is a long history of fumbling this football. I know it's baseball, but the analogy, right? They didn't even speak to Bo Bichette over the winter, and some would point out, hey, he's having a crappy year, they look like geniuses. Well, no, they don't really, actually. Because maybe Bo Bichette's having a completely different year if he's still here. Maybe the Blue Jays are having a completely different year if he's still here. But they don't even try. Shane Bieber's injured in spring training. Cody Ponce goes down in his first start, blows out his knee. Max Scherzer gets injured. Then Dylan Cease. Zero legitimate moves to plug those gaps. Jose Barrios goes down with Tommy John. That should have triggered an instant trade for a starting pitcher. There are guys out there you can go get that are legit. They just don't seem interested. Oh, let's do bullpen days and wait it out and lose games that could cost us come September. Even John Schneider's like, yo, we need to go outside the organization to fix this. Did they do it? Simeon Woods Richardson ain't gonna do it. Neither was Tanner Andrews or any of the other guys they brought in. You went after the wrong caliber of guy, and I mean, yeah, they're readily available, but there's a reason for that. You left Jeff Hoffman, which is the reason for this rant, as the closer for far too long. You allowed him to lose you the World Series, because we've been sounding the Jeff Hoffman alarm since May last year. We were talking about the fact that you can't pitch him more than 1, maybe 2 days in a row. You can't have that out of your closer. He's got to be, whenever you need him, he needs to be available. And you couldn't do that with him. And he was so inconsistent last year. Yeah, they might have had a deep run. Yeah, he had good stretches. Maybe you could say that even yesterday he gives up the 2-run homer within 4 pitches. An entire section of Skydome cheered when Mason Fluharty got up in the bullpen yesterday. Because they wanted Jeff Hoffman out of that game so badly. And yeah, he gave up a solo home run because the ball slipped coming out of his hand. But think about that. The minute Fluharty walked up those stairs, an entire section of the stadium cheered. And you're still running this guy out there to try and lose us games. We cannot keep running this guy out there. This is Brendan Little territory. We can't keep doing this. If anything, if they keep running him out there and trying to defend him post game, oh, he's gone so many scoreless innings, but this is the problem. He'll have a few scoreless innings in games that don't matter when you're winning by 10. And then when it matters, he gives up 2-run homers on 4 pitches and loses you the World Series in other moments. We just can't have that. Just doesn't work. I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't care if all you get back's a bag of balls. Get this guy out of here. I don't even want him pitching for my minor league teams. It's a bad apple that'll spoil the whole bunch. But it starts with Shapiro and Atkins, and it starts with John Schneider not having the balls to sit this guy on the bench and staple him there. If you want Vladdy to take a day off and you will tie him physically to the bench the way you guys used to do, where are those same guys that'll physically tie this guy to the bench and not let him pitch? Because again, the minute he came in the game yesterday, there was a collective groan in the stadium. This fan base is not accepting of this guy still being on our team. And you say, oh, you're fans, you don't know nothing. Well, we know a lot more than you think. And we're not stupid. So stop treating us like we are. We know what we see. And what we see is not good enough. And when Alejandro Kirk comes back, I better see a tandem of Valenzuela and Alejandro Kirk as my backstops. Or there will be more fuel on this fire. Now, ordinarily, I'm not one to see someone lose their livelihood and their ability to take care of their family. But these guys get paid to the point where they could take a few years off if they need to. And they get paid to produce, and they're not. They have shown an ineptitude over a very large sample size now, one that's big enough, to show that there needs to be change. I hope Edward Rogers somehow sees this video. Because you can't keep doing this. The reaction in that stadium yesterday should tell you everything you need to know. Now, one thing, what we'll call sport, that really gets it is the WWE. They listen to the reaction of the fans. You're not a lot different from what they do. In fact, you're probably just as scripted. So, that being said, listen to your fan base. He's got to go. And so do they. Edward Rogers. All three of them. John Schneider, Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro. 4, Jeff Hoffman. They all need to go. And it's sickening to know that Brandon Little's still in this organization somewhere. That's sickening. Change needs to happen at the top and trickle down to this team. We can't keep going like this. All right. So, guys, rant over for now. There'll be more because they aren't looking at changing anytime soon, so we'll continue to rant until they do. Let us know what you guys think of Jeff Hoffman. Hit that comment section. Let us know if you agree or disagree with the rant. If you want to see some more good rants about Jeff Hoffman, check out Sid Sixero. And yeah, that's our show for this week and for today. We went deep, talked about some World Cup preview, and yeah, the tournament starts this week on Thursday. Get ready for an unforgettable summer of soccer and baseball. And we got drafts coming up. We got free agency coming up in NBA and NHL. We got WNBA in full swing. We got PWHL free agency going on right now. So there's tons going on in the world of sports. Keep on enjoying. Drop your predictions in the comments for the World Cup. And let's get that discussion going. As always, y'all, please subscribe to the channel so that we can continue bringing you these shows. We will talk soon. Go Canada in the World Cup. Go Blue Jays. And until next time, thank you for joining True North Sports Talk. See you then.